Hey, Dragon Slayers. It's been about 3 hours since my last meal. I'm currently at 107. So, as I've hinted on in previous videos, insulin resistance affects so much more than diabetes and prediabetes, type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. There's a whole slew of other illnesses, diseases, ailments that have been linked to insulin resistance. So this next series of videos that I do is going to cover some of these other diseases and explain their link to insulin resistance. Today's video is about PCOS, which is a very common condition that affects so many women that I know of personally. And it's terrible that the same thing that causes diabetes and prediabetes also causes PCOS. I believe it stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so insulin is one of the root causes to physiological imbalances. If not, in most cases, if not all cases, PCOS occurs because of insulin resistance. So this happens when your pancreas needs to pump out more and more insulin in response to high blood sugar levels or chronically high blood sugar levels. High insulin is both a symptom of PCOS and an underlying physiological driver for testing for insulin resistance can be helpful to rule out other conditions that are commonly misdiagnosed. Polycystic ovarian syndrome sounds exactly like it's exclusively a disease of the ovaries, but it's not. While PCOS does affect the ovaries and ovulation, it's actually a full body endocrine and metabolic disorder that is closely tied to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a key feature in both obese and lean PCOS. It occurs in 70 to 95% of people with obese PCOS and 30 to 75% of people with lean PCOS. So you don't have to be overweight to have PCOS. You don't have to be overweight to have insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, or regular or pre-diabetes. You also don't have to be don't have to have diabetes or pre-diabetes to have insulin resistance. And this is the thing that makes it so tricky. Is because insulin resistance comes from hyperinsulinemia, which means that you have chronically elevated insulin levels. So you can have a person, normal fasted insulin is probably in the 4 to 5 range. You can have a person that has like a fasted insulin of 20, right? So their blood sugar's normal, it's in the normal range, but their body's producing 4 times or 5 times the amount of insulin that it normally would. And that's not good because over time, that's going to lead to insulin resistance. So, fructose itself is not a problem. Only in high amounts can it cause harm, like high fructose corn syrup, which is one of the worst things that you could possibly put in your body. And so, they talk about how increased weight gain over the last 10 years and people have what they call galloping increase of PCOS has paralleled with the rise in the prevalence of type 2 diabetes. Those two conditions are strongly correlated because they have the same root cause. And high doses of fructose from desserts, soft drinks, fruit juices has a very different effect. So eating fruit, it's almost impossible to get any sort of metabolic condition from eating actual fruit alone. And I'm not talking fruit juices. I mean like the whole fruit. Like if you're eating whole apples, right? And you're eating whole pears and oranges, obviously not the rind, but it's almost impossible to get a metabolic condition from that. This is all of your processed foods, all of your fake foods, basically. You want to eat things that are as close as possible to how they appear in nature. So in the description below, I put 2 articles that you can check out in more details. But yeah, The great thing is that if the same thing that causes PCOS causes diabetes and type 2 diabetes, then the same thing can fix it. So if you guys are suffering from PCOS out there, check out the videos on my channel and I will walk you step by step and how to reverse it. So stay tuned. That's what I've got for you today, guys. And remember that together you and I will slay the dreaded diabetes dragon as well as PCOS.